Alright, we are back. Let's continue. We are about... Yes. We're dealing with this fella. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman. And it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. The courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did. Someone else would have to see justice done. So, you admit it then? That everything happened as I described? That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen? You can blame this miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. Did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back, I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journo here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. The witness had administered the poison himself. He need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. A really clever turn in this case. Justice at last. This is unbelievable, using the twist that got us progress in this case. The twist of... Because remember, from 2 years back, we discovered the article about the poison theft, uncovered more info about the poison, then used the odd detail about her constricted pupils in the autopsy report to implicate the presence of poison as a means to get Ray off the hook from having stabbed her. And now that's been turned entirely on its head, on us. Ray's being accused of poisoning Giselle, and the stabbing is getting Brighton off the hook here. Menimemo-san. It's unbelievable. After I'd made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he gonna get away with it now? Smack! Yeah! Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stop looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial. Deep breath, exhale. Yes, Your Excellency. Let's do this. We've got Soseki on here, so we'll see what happens. Oops.
Hold it!
So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions toward Miss Brett then? Which means we're probably gonna break out the reagent in this testimony. We're gonna find how she was actually poisoned. Ah, the woman's very existence offends my sense of justice. Let's see. Whoop. Wrong button. There's a way hasn't actually introduced that in this. We can't talk to Soseki. Your sense of... he's claiming some sort of righteous indignation? She was pure evil. A cold-blooded killer who'd committed murder right here on our empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice. Put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it. Do you hear the people sing the song of angry men? It's the music of a people who will not be fooled again. So in summary, murderous intentions then. Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right for society. Yet a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dark. A crime for which she must pay. Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. Not at all. Not in the slightest.
Hold it!
So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously, that'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you're already wearing braces like these. The accused administered the poison, following which this witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel. Who knows, you may even learn something here today. Little snake. I love how slimy and brown-nosed he is. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Do something that evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim then, witness. Alright.
Hold it!
You will talk. What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened at that restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. Really? The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. Professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikitoba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai. However, there is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. Just eating that student girl up inside, you could see it. I really felt for her. Oh? Ray? Ah! Ray! I can't. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray! Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all this up. Susanoo, please. You have to make them listen. Turn to the dock at once, Membani-san. We're in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great, peeping Tom. Ooh. Whoa, take it easy there. Please, what do you think the court should hear what the defendant has to say? Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks. I will grant the request of the defense. But, Your Excellency! This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh! Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Why would he bring up Dr. Wilson? That stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. Surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed. All visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. That's true. I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. As I left, I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we've been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it... They're doing the same pose! They're doing the same pose. They're doing a thingy. That's cool. Obviously, I gave nothing away, other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my own enemy in the eye. Surely you could understand that. To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government even would be a complete disaster. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Ah, yes. Menimemo-san, one small question if you don't mind. I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in while the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about. Yes, look at this! The entire article! It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Ooh, Well, Menimemo-san? As a journal, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. It's a founding principle of Menimemoism. Father's clearly right about this. The reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. You made by Soseki Natsume. Everything's during this took place. Deadly poison being secretly developed in the University's Forensic Science Laboratory was stolen. Poison by a wound from a poison-laced blade. Curious. Good methods cannot detect into chemical. Answers. Poison-laced blade. That's very curious. I wonder if that's relevant. All right. So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up. My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on the record. Very well. You may amend your formal testimony. Ha. He's getting riled up. Point is, if you'd poisoned someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well.
Hold it!
I mean, that's fair. But perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die. That's horse dung. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you'd even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I'm a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer, as it happens. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There's been a good reason for that. If I was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly you must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut. Yes, that's undeniable. Between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation. Sorry? What change? The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman. Ah, yes, that's it. That's when Menimemo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That could be the key here. If the victim had unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have had no reason to stab her. The face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable. But there's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder. You could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her even after the poisoning. I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for. Yes, I agree. In order to do that, I must try to glean more information. Hi, Ray.
Objection!
That bit about the poison-laced blade. Well, I can think of one reason. What? What? Before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information from this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did! There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all at the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin. And there is one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Membani-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel? Menimemo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the Dreadnought had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Ah! Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Membani-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Menimemo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information? Information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article. Namely, the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, that it couldn't be readily obtained. Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. Did he really stab her to cover his tracks? There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Ah! Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Membani-san being no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson, unaware of its telltale properties. Ah. Point. In other words, someone like you. Right in Menimemo. Yeah! Oh yeah, here we go. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. It was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake. Because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. The glare. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned these facts. You'd already given the victim the poison at that point. it was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involves stabbing the victim in the back through the read screen.
Attention!
But what could that possibly do? Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he? Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would have ever suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. Waiting for the objection, because we have to prove how he stole the poison. Order! 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 The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward? There are a number of, yes! I counter completely!
Objection!
I counter your face! Prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope. Lost hope! Damn, Susanna! That was savage. Okay, here we go. Here's the obvious objection. Shouting through his head. Oh, this... Oh, pathetic, useless, fallen samurai. Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My birthday growth is on the rise. I don't need a counter-argument. Oh, he's getting serious now. What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Those are fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? Without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on the facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier at this trial. It's all here. In my many memos, every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. In many memos, many menimos. That's what the show you news is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. Surely it'd be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed. All visitors to the lab are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. How's that then? Blow the story wide open. See, I, Wright in Menimemo, a mere reporter for the Shoyu News. Couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. Ah! Womp. But there can't be any question of it. You must have stolen the poison that day. You stole it. You did to kill. If that's the case, it's back. As you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it in the lab that day is the true culprit here. What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? My point is annoyingly handsome. My point is this. There's one way that you, Menimemo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. Huh? I've heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. This witness stole the poison on the day in question.
Take that!
Add to the pen. Proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. Ah, a fountain pen? How could that possibly be relevant? This magical pen somehow seemed to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. Bah! I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush that nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a Damn, okay, Boomer. Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. It's like I love you, Sosuke. Stuck up a soup cart of sumptuous ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye. That's right. And pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up to the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What is that? This talking of sucking up ink have... And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word. Can this really be? Well, Menimemo-san? When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up to the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Okay. The progression to the end here is pretty clear. More obscenity. That never happened. Now we present the reagent. True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. Would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No. I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Menimemo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act while the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass. There can be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
He said that she didn't give an interview. No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled the reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So that this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back up into the game. I have plenty in reserve. My answer is fuck you, pocket pencils. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought that you could bring down a fine upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. Looks as though it's got to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did, with evidence. No such evidence could possibly exist. Menimemo-san, this is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you will do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. Very well then, I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence. This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle. Defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle? Bang. This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method. Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison. A reagent? What? Gotcha. One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Menimemo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. Will we accept this? Because remember, case 5 of the first game, we had the courts not accepting Herlock's blood-identifying reagents. No, you can't. I won't. We wound up using them as proof in other logical means, but the court did not accept the science behind Herlock's blood vibes. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. I fucking love her. She's so good. Your Excellency, defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. Yeah. Whoa, this isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to this, trying to hold its head high as a civilized nation, but bowing its head at foreign powers' whim. Took up arms to the foreign bloody pen. I fought tirelessly on the battle of all the name of justice, rightness, yes. Menimemo. Naruhodo, with me. Whoa, I'm there. Double toss. Yeah. Did I do it right? That was a Susanoo takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryutaro takedown. We love them we love the girls. The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. Well, I saw it there in the lab. The poison. The devil got hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. Excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. And to be one thing, Menimemo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up. Oh. Then why did the Englishwoman end up dead? I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really? You must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian. What? What did you call me? This country, with its pretensions to an injustice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate. Damn! Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from. Damn, nothing of value was lost when she died a death. That's what I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. A terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done. She clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journo spirit getting all fired up. I'd like to ask you something. Yes? You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. Finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up. That's what it was. A cover-up? What do you mean? I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. Yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away in the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. What sort of deal? I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. It came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, they're going to crush the free press. Then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself? Let's not forget, Menimemo-san, that you committed murder yourself. You tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose you're right. Anyway, state secret slander concerns alike. Let's move on, shall we? It will all appear we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Oh! Ah, yes, that is my name. Sorry, Excellency. Just using it in a manly way here. Yes, that is right. That is my very manly name. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience in the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, no, Ryunosuke, you mean? The way he handled the trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one. It gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Ouchi, do you have any final thoughts? Prosecutor Ouchi? I, Takatsuchi of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, this bullet had died here today. Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Oh no, I've been living on in shame. I will end it all down with this blade move. That is the true path to Ouchiism. Ouchiism? One hopes that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness. Speak of my top knot. The time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Takatsuchi. Do it. Out its misery, and it is gone. Gone in the wind. F in the chat. Praying for the top knot. Moment of silence. Hosonaga! When did fucking Hosonaga get back here? Anyway, now, in regard to the defendant, Raymond Bonnie-san, After that moment of silence, yes, Your Excellency. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you. And pedals. Yeah. Court is adjourned. Like this video if you cry every time from the death of the top knot. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. I forgot I put into DLC outfit. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato! Susato! Thank you. Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there. Ray and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm going to cry. It wasn't easy, but together, we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... what? I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. I am sweeping you off your feet, Ray, to celebrate. Or something. Right, I see. I'll, think about it, Ray. Susato, she is asking you out. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Is there anybody else we could throw together? Father, no. Father, run. I hope you're not looking at me, Ray. Oh, my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not. Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. What? What is happening? Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga. I do hope you've been keeping well. Is that really you? Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I don't... So dashing, so divine. No! Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Miss Susato-san, Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san, Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding. Ace attorney. It isn't a thing. He said a thing. Poor Soseki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. Much of Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Soseki-san was free to return to Japan. Now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau. Who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less. The powerful disguise. I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many phases, I see. Just 2, really? And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I am a professional, of course. So smug! I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then he got his ass kicked. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Kazuma-sama. But that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama? From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? Talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan, personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? Now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. Ah, my arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. If we invoke his name, we'll turn around and find him hanging onto the ceiling. According to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. That man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then Iris, and the poor girl, won't ever see her beloved father again. Yeah, we had that moment with her in Case 5 of the first game, where she mentioned her papa, and Susanoo and Ryunosuke just kind of looked at each other like, she doesn't know. You shouldn't say. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. Returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. I also serve another role, as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know. Because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me? That's really the only explanation that I can think of. Dear me. Do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susanoo? I'm sorry, my dear. I simply can't. Ah! Let me go! What? You? Menimemo-san! So, one throw wasn't enough for you. I've got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. That visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. What? Student of law? He must mean Kazuma-sama. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship. That will never... Ah! Toss. What? Judge! Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, sir. Well, what the hell was that voice? I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Yushin. It's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him. And I'll be there shortly. Oh, Your Excellency. Ha 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 ha. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Seishiro Jigoku. And may I say, since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato? That... Did you know all along, from the start of the trial? A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Seishiro here had known him that he'd recognized you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes. Having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father! Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did admirably. Oh, thank you very much. What did you think of my Seishiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. We love to see judges outside their courtrooms. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett, about Dr. Wilson, and about Kazuma-sama. Now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. If he really has his ear to diplomatic matters between countries, then I suppose it is no surprise that he would be involved in the exchange program. I'm going to have to bring this up with Father sometime, when nobody else is around. Soseki? Judicial Assistant Mikitoba-san, Esquire-S. Could I have a word? Oh, yes, of course, Soseki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. Oh. Alright. Want to also point out that Soseki-san mentioned an encounter with an unfortunate encounter with a poison back in London. That did not happen in the first game. The first game was a case with a falling knife and the Garadebs in Soseki's apartment building that Soseki was blamed for. He's not had an encounter with a poison yet. Keep that in mind. This I have to hear. Please, Soseki-san, tell me at once. I will. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on the ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikitoba. Wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan. What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in. I don't really know exactly. But do you remember then? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course. You could never forget. Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. The second one? You mean... the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public. Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first. But I don't care. I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious, unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings. The key to all of this. That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan? I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
That was great. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. I vaguely recall a bunch of this game. I'm racking my brain, trying to remember what part of this case could have prompted this action. Is this case really that much of a core to the mystery that had Yujin summon his daughter back to Japan so suddenly? There's only one thing I can think of that prompted this, but I don't remember. I don't even remember if that starts in this case or not, or if it's episode 3 where that particular plot point starts. I don't know. I suppose we'll find out next time, though, as we deal back into the adventures of Soseki-san and his cursed existence in England. Until then, though, until then.